Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 353 for July 16th, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the matchup is set for ArenaBowl XXXIII. We give our thoughts on Netflix's Receiver docuseries, and Calvin Johnson is going to be honored by the Detroit Lions. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table for me, as always, is my son Adam.
Man, oh man, what a jam-packed weekend of we say that every week. This
Right.
time of the year is crazy how much football there is. Yet everybody you see on Twitter is like, "Oh man, I wish football season was here." And it's just
Really?
like I feel insane because
Yeah.
every week I have to say it's still going.
Yeah.
We had arena football playoffs. We had Canadian Football League action. We had indoor football league action. There was women's football action.
Yep.
There was the Netflix, docu-series. There, you still got Hard Knocks or the new version of Hard Knocks. So there's something, a bit of everything.
Football being played over in Europe.
Football again. Yeah, I didn't even mention the
Yeah,
league over in
we're
Europe.
covering that too.
Goodness gracious, there's just so much happening. Obviously, you all know that if you're following our show. If this is your
Right.
first time, there's still so much football happening.
Where have you been?
Where have you been? I'm telling you, we're going to have to put that on a t-shirt, which might actually come to fruition.
The best kept secret in,
Yeah.
in the world of football.
Pretty
the
much.
Football world, yeah.
Pretty much. But yeah, I'm excited. We had so much to talk about, so let's get to it.
All right. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. Ugh. You'll find many other selected videos on our YouTube channel, like Canadian Football League Weekly. We just, we've got episode 5 or week 5 up, and we're going to get week 6 up here
In the day or tonight, hopefully. We recorded it last night, but we have some other stuff kind of going around the family, so we've been busy, and there's been so much happening behind the scenes.
It's been tough for you and me to get together in the last couple of days.
Yeah, we're still dealing with it as we record too, but we'll work our way through it. And then we also have the Arena Football League Weekly up, where we talk about the round 1 of the playoffs going into round 2. So we'll have another one up this week too, because you will be at the Arena Bowl this week.
I will be. Yep.
We might be talking to you while you're in New Jersey.
Yeah,
so
it could be.
We'll see how that goes. And then we did put up a short from one of our Canadian Football League videos where Dad turns a Detroit Lions shirt into a Canadian shirt. I was amused, and I think it's great. It's one of the funniest things you've ever done, if I do say so myself.
Okay. All right. Well, let's begin our tour around the world of football, and we start this week with some postseason action in the Arena Football League.
That's right, everybody. It was the semifinals in the Arena Football League. What a time. The games being on CBS Sportsnet. They had a game at 2 o'clock and a game at 10 o'clock, and there was a Canadian game wedged in between there. So
right, yeah.
If you were on CBS Sportsnet, you were in heaven.
I was.
You were.
I was there for all that.
I didn't get to catch every single minute, but I did catch a bit of all of it. Not as much as you, obviously. But Saturday saw the number 2 seed Albany Firebirds defeat the number 3 seed Salina Liberty 80-59. How about that?
Wow.
Albany scored a rouge on the opening kickoff, and the Firebirds led 15-13 at the end of the first quarter. But then the fireworks continued as Albany would then lead at halftime 44-42. Those teams were just on a scoring frenzy. Yeah, unbelievable first half.
86 points scored in the first half.
Yep, 10 lead changes in that first half as well. It was something else to behold. One of the best playoff games to start. And then things kind of shifted in the second half as Albany went on to outscore Salina 15-5 in the third quarter, making the score 59-47 in favor of Albany going into that fourth quarter. So still a tight game. But then the Firebirds just, open it up even more. They outscored the Liberty 21-12 in that fourth quarter. Salina failing to convert on 2 4-point attempts after a couple of touchdowns. So tough for Salina, but man,
Yeah.
I was not expecting this type of game. I figured, it was either going to go a close game, which it was that first half. That's pretty much what I
Right. Yeah.
expected.
Yep.
But it turned into Albany just putting up 80 points, which I think is a playoff record for them.
It is. Yeah. Well, it's for everybody. Yeah. It's a playoff record. I don't know whether it was 79 or 78 points before, but yeah, 80 points is a new record for the playoffs in the Arena Football League.
See, I didn't know if that was true or not because I could have swore I've seen another team do that in the playoffs, but I could be wrong. But still, regardless, heck of a game for the Firebirds at home. CBS Sportsnet again, what a good broadcast they put together there. Any other thoughts from this game?
No, it was a fun game to watch. Even though the score doesn't show really that it was that close, it was close for
Mhm.
quite a bit of the game. And
Yeah.
I think the two 4-point conversions that were missed were the big difference. That would have put them right back in the game.
Yeah. And we'll probably end up talking about that 4-point conversion at play probably later on in the off season. But until then, we now move on to the second game of the night, which was at 10 o'clock at night here on the East Coast. So the game didn't get over with till like 1 in the morning. It was, I was tired.
I actually fell asleep
Oh, did you?
right after it started, but I was recording it, so I got up early the next morning and watched it before I saw any social media. So I didn't know how it went, who won. I
Oh,
didn't know anything, and so it was kind of cool to watch it the next morning when I was actually awake and
right
could
on.
enjoy it. So that was
Oh yeah, I
fun.
watched that ending live, so I was able to catch at least the last quarter or so because we were out at an observatory that night. So I got home late, and that was what I did before I went to bed, and it was almost 1 in the morning. So
Mhm.
that was pretty sweet. So the number 1 seed Billings Outlaws defeated the number 6 seeded Nashville Cats 35-32. It was a very defensive game. In the first half, as neither team scored in the first quarter, which is
That was so unusual.
yeah.
You never see that in an arena
I mean, it
game.
reminds me of earlier in the season when the Predators. Oh, I forget who they were playing, but they were up 6-0.
Mm.
Remember that was like a first half. That was the score at the end of the first half was
Right,
six to
right, yeah,
nothing. So we've seen some weird scores in the Arena League, high and low.
yeah.
But yeah, so
But I mean, no point. The only thing there was a blocked field goal attempts, and that was the only scoring chance in the first quarter. Wow.
yeah. But then the game would end up being tied 14-14 at halftime. Nashville then scored a deuce on the opening kickoff of the third quarter, but Billings outscored the Cats in that same quarter, 26-16. To take the lead, or to take a 26-16 lead, rather. In the fourth, Billings was up 32-25 at the 1-minute warning. Nashville tied the score up at 32 apiece with 47 seconds remaining. That's where I thought, I was like, all right, Nashville tied it up. We're probably going to go to overtime.
Right.
But Billings kicker Bailey Griffin nailed a 39-yard field goal for the win as time expired, and that place was rocking.
Yeah, that was something else.
That was a
I
great
think everybody
moment.
was thinking, oh, this is going into overtime, but they managed to move close enough for a 39-yard field goal, and man, he nailed it. He just
He
nailed it.
did. It was, I mean, in the Arena League, you hear 39 yards in outdoor game, you're like, that's a chip shot.
Yeah.
The Arena League, that ain't a chip shot.
With,
That's still a tough thing to make.
yeah.
So kudos to him. Kudos to the organization, everybody out there in Billings. What a remarkable season they've had. They've made it to the Arena
Yes.
Bowl. And, now it's another team to add to the list of teams that have made it to the Arena Bowl. Like we've had the Firebirds in the Arena Bowl before, but we've never had a Billings Outlaws in the Arena Bowl. So that's kind of cool. So
Right.
I'm very excited. And I think you're going to be set up for a very intriguing matchup there
I
in
think so too. Yeah.
New Jersey. And let's preview that while we're here. Friday, July 19th at the American Dream Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars, get on CBS Sportsnet, and check out this game. This should be a fascinating watch as the 8-1, number 1 seeded Billings Outlaws take on the number 2 seed Albany Firebirds, who are 8-2 on the year. Two of the best teams. They played one of the best matchups earlier in the year. So we'll see if they deliver another great game to close out this arena season. And they are ending on quite the note, I think, here after such a
Yeah.
tumultuous beginning of the year and so much doubt on whether they would even get to this point. And granted, we are, and let's see, checks notes. We are 3 days away from the Arena Bowl. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
Especially the way this season has gone. But
Yeah.
it seems like everything should be good to go. You're leaving tomorrow morning.
I got my ticket. I got my hotel. Got the car packed up, kind of.
Yeah.
I just need to top it off tonight. Make sure my tank's full when I hit the road at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and start heading east.
Oh, I can't wait. I just want to see your Randy vlog because you just got to take some selfie videos. I want you to document every step of the way. Like, hey, I'm here in Ohio. getting gas.
Yeah,
Please
well,
do it. Please. For
we'll
everybody
see.
out there, that's what we want.
We'll see.
And we'll put it together in a nice video. All right. Anything else from the Arena League?
No, like you said, this is going to be a great ending to a tumultuous season.
I'm sure, and like I said, I look forward to you and how you're videotaping as much as you can of
Yeah.
your experience at the Arena Bowl. I'm just utterly fascinated what it's going to look like in this arena, and I'm sure we'll start getting pictures here soon. I'm sure they've
Yeah.
got to be setting up. I'm
All
waiting
we've
for
seen, all we've seen so far are
this
the
concept art.
concept art. I'm wanting to see some actual pictures of the nets going up, the
Yeah.
field getting put in, the bleachers getting put in. Well, I want to see that.
Oh, he's crying, everybody. Oh, he's emotional about it.
Not
Take-
emotional, just talking too much.
No, that's not true. He drinks some water. He's crying. It's okay. All right. With that, guys, we are now going to head north of the border, and we are going to talk some Canadian football. That's right. It was week 6 in the CFL, and on Thursday night, the Toronto Argonauts got a big victory over the defending Grey Cup champion Montreal Alouettes, 37-18, to hand them their first loss of the season. Anything from this?
This was a great game. The Toronto was definitely the underdog in
Yeah.
this game. Montreal being undefeated, but yeah, being an Argos fan, I was so happy to see the way they just manhandled Montreal. This was great, and I thought that these were going to be. I mean, it was the first game of the weekend, and I said these are the highlights of the week. I didn't think anything would top that, and then
Yeah, we'll get to that.
the Friday game happened.
Oh, then the Friday game. So this is what you think of the highlights, huh? Well, then Friday night saw the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defeat the Calgary Stampeders 41-37, giving Winnipeg their second straight victory, their second win of the season. 41-37. That is a big score there. What'd you like about this game?
Well, it was high scoring. It was a close game. Calgary was actually up in this game for most of it, and I was absolutely rooting for Calgary to win. I like Calgary too. They're like my second favorite team up there. And it broke my heart when they lost.
Yeah.
As happy as I was that Toronto won the night before, I was very upset when the Calgary Stampeders lost that game. And then I thought, well, these are the highlights of the week. But then you know what happened? A game was played on Saturday.
Oh my goodness. Well, then on Saturday, the BC Lions defeated the previously undefeated Saskatchewan Roughriders 35-20. That's right, giving Saskatchewan that first loss of the season. There was a lot to this game.
Oh man, Vernon Adams.
Vernon Adams is the name.
He is something else. So much fun to watch. This was a really good game too, and I thought these were going to be the highlights of the week.
Oh my God.
But you know what? There was another game. Look, every one of these stinking games was fantastic. If you have never looked up any highlights, check out every one of these games. Every one was better than the next one or last one. So, God, what a great weekend in the CFL.
That's what we've been saying for weeks. If you're not on the CFL train yet, guys, hop on. We're only in week 6. We got, 14 more weeks to go?
Yeah.
So we're in for a bit of a ride up till that Grey Cup game we're going to be at in November. So, I mean, this league has just been firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
It's been so fun. And then we cap off this week with, and as we'll explain, this is also what's been making this season especially one of the most special CFL seasons ever. Maybe not so much if you are a Edmonton Elks fan, because Sunday then saw the Ottawa Redblacks defeat the Edmonton Elks 37-34. That's right, a 3-point loss again for the Edmonton Elks, making it the third straight game they've lost by a field goal. Not just by a field goal, but on a last-second walk-off field goal. You got to feel for the Edmonton Elks here.
Oh.
Like my heart broke a little bit because I started at the beginning of the game. I was watching, and then I had to do some other stuff, so I didn't get to watch all the game. But when I saw that they had lost, I was like, okay, they lost by 3 points again. God, there's no way it was by a last-second field goal, was it? And it was.
Didn't you say you were watching this at a Buffalo Wild Wings?
No, that was the Saturday game.
Okay,
I
but
was at Buffalo.
but you were watching one at a Buffalo Wild Wings
Yeah,
here in Kalamazoo, CFL action.
It was just crazy. Like, yeah, I didn't expect it to be on one of the TVs, but it was. Like, you had golf and baseball, I think, and then all of a sudden I'm like looking at one screen that's right by me. I'm like, oh, they got Canadian football on TV. I'm in heaven. But anyway, back to this Sunday game here. So the Edmonton Elks, they also fired head coach and general manager Chris Jones after the loss. After they started 0-5. Offensive coordinator and quarterback coach Jarius Jackson is now going to be the interim coach there for the Elks. Jones was 61-70 all time in the CFL as a head coach. He won a Grey Cup with Edmonton back in 2015. He was also named the CFL's Coach of the Year in 2018 when he was the head coach of Saskatchewan. He had been the head coach and GM of Edmonton since December of 2021. That's around the time when they were transitioning to the Elks name, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
right about that time.
yeah, so it's been a tough transition to becoming the Elks. It's not been a great run. And look, 3 straight losses by a field goal, a last second field goal at that. I've been on that Elks bandwagon. I've been saying they are just so close.
Yes.
They're so close to getting it together, but for whatever reason, they just can't stick the landing at the end of these games, whether it just be bad juju, whether it is just some terrible decisions. In that last game, it was the kicker on a kickoff, kicking the ball out of bounds with,
Right.
what was it, 8 seconds left? 9 seconds left in the game?
Yeah.
And
like
it gave Ottawa the ball at the 50-yard line, and then Drew Brown threw one pass. It got him in field goal range.
It was like a
2 seconds
30-yard pass.
Yeah, into traffic. It was just an unbelievable ending. It just ripped the Elks' heart out, and it's just like, how much can these Elks fans take? How much can that team take? Because they've been so close. We've seen them. They've got so much fight with McLeod Bethel-Thompson at your quarterback. They look like we've talked about with the Blue Bombers, Winnipeg there for a while. Like when they were struggling, they were 0-4. We were saying we were thinking we should be worried. Now I'm not so worried about the Blue Bombers. Looks like they're getting back on track. In the CFL, you can get back on track. You're only 6 weeks into a very long season. So I feel like Edmonton could do the same. Maybe this coaching changes what they need. We'll see. They do have a bye this upcoming week, I think.
The Elks?
Or no, they turn around. They play the first game of the week. That's right. Yes. So it'll be a short turnaround for them. So we'll see right away next week.
Yeah, they're going to have a rematch with Ottawa. This was in Edmonton, and then Thursday night or Friday night, they're going to be playing at Ottawa, but it's a rematch.
Yep. So we'll see right off the bat if, not even a good thing on a short week to change coaches.
Really.
So we'll have to see if this Edmonton team can rally because I just feel for that team. I feel so bad for them. And I'm a Lions fan. And I've known heartbreak, and boy, I can't remember the Lions ever suffering 3 straight walk-off field goals in my life.
Seems like they did that a lot, but I couldn't really say right offhand.
But anyway, we'll talk more in depth about some of those games on the YouTube channel. Be on the lookout for our full recap there. Right. And then on bye this week, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and we do have one news story from the game, or from the week.
Yeah, a CFL superfan by the name of Chris Timofichuk is trying to set a new Guinness World Record for visiting all 9 CFL stadiums in the fastest amount of time. He attended games in Winnipeg, British Columbia, and Edmonton this past weekend. He's also raising money at each stop to help fight cancer. His record-breaking attempt will end at BMO Field in Toronto on July 27th. The record was set just last year at 15 days by Bobby Dubois, or Dubois, I'm not sure, from British Columbia. Timofichuk is trying to break the record by an hour and a half. I don't know how that how that all comes out, but if he makes it, he'll have broken the record by an hour and a half over 15 days. But he has to follow a bunch of strict guidelines on this record-breaking attempt, including he has to be wearing a GPS tracker. So I don't know if that's, on game day all day long, or if it's like a weekend long. I don't know, but he's got to wear a GPS tracker. That's part of the stipulations for completing this.
Yeah, that he never left the stadium. He was probably in the stadium the whole time. Yeah,
I don't know, but anyway, he's raising money for a charity called CFL Fans Fight Cancer, which is a charity that began in 2005 and so far has raised over $100,000 for cancer research.
Pretty awesome.
So good for him. I hope it doesn't matter if he breaks it or not. He's doing a good thing, raising money, and I think somebody's going to try and do this about every year.
When are we going to pull our stunt, Randy, to raise money for cancer or something?
What are you thinking?
I have no idea at the top of my head. Can we just...
Well, I want to visit all 9 stadiums. I just don't want to do it in the course of 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean,
at least not with our pocket money. Like if somebody wants to pay for us to do it, all for it. But
yeah, and then
we'll figure something out. I've wanted to do some charity stuff, especially now that the channel's grown to where it's kind of at now. It'd be fun to maybe do something at some point, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, if something presents itself, I would be glad to do it.
Because you did a great thing years ago, Operation Gridiron Airlift. I don't know if a lot of people know about that, where you had gathered a bunch of used footballs from several different places. A couple of different indoor leagues, and
NFL teams, colleges, arena football teams. The
you,
Grand Rapids Rampage donated some footballs, and overall, I collected about 500 footballs, and I
yeah.
packed them up and I shipped them to various places where U.S. soldiers were deployed overseas. I sent
Yeah. That's
some
one of
to
the
Italy
coolest
and
things you've
Iraq
ever
and
done. I mean,
Afghanistan, and
you've done a lot of cool things in your life, but I think that's one thing. And you got the nice little article clipped out there, and you got it framed. And
mm,
that's one of the coolest things. I think you got a picture of the back of your van at the time, just stuffed with footballs. It's
a
great.
multitude of footballs, and I made a point to acknowledge everybody that I took a picture because like you get a ball from Western Michigan, it's got the Western Michigan logo on it, or you get something from a lot of these other college teams, they've got their logo right on the football.
Yeah.
So I took pictures of all those, and yeah, a lot of different footballs in that picture.
I mean, maybe at some point we'll need Operation Gridiron Airlift Part 2.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
that'd be something.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on now, where it's time to jump back to the States. Yeah, because we were in Canada.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like reading the notes. Like, wait a minute. No, it's time to jump back to the States, and we're gonna talk a little indoor/arena football.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the Indoor Football League. This was week 18 out of 19, so they only got one more week in the regular season,
I know.
and a lot of their playoff spots are set. I think there's only one playoff spot that's not accounted for yet, but they had, oh gosh, all these games were on Saturday. Looks like 6, 7 games on Saturday. The Green Bay Blizzard defeated the Jacksonville Sharks 45-42 in a close game. The Iowa Barnstormers defeated the Sioux Falls Storm 65-54. The Quad City Steamwheelers defeated the Tulsa Oilers 39-35. A lot of close games here. San Antonio Gunslingers over the Tucson Sugar Skulls 49-43. The Vegas Nighthawks defeated the Northern Arizona Wranglers 55-45. And the Bay Area Panthers defeated the Duke City Gladiators 50-28. On by were the Massachusetts Pirates, Frisco Fighters, Arizona Rattlers, and San Diego Strike Force. So looking at the standings now in the IFL through week 18, the Green Bay Blizzard sit at 12-3. They've earned a first round bye and a playoff spot. The Frisco Fighters also have a playoff spot at 12-3. They have a first round bye as well. The Massachusetts Pirates have a playoff spot. Their record is 8-7, and the Quad City Steamwheelers are 8-7. They have a playoff spot too. And the other 4 teams in the East have all been eliminated. Iowa Barnstormers at 10-5, Tulsa Oilers at 5-10. Tulsa Oilers at 5-10, Jacksonville Sharks 4-11, and Sioux Falls Storm 3-12. Then out in the West, 3 playoff spots are spoken for. The Bay Area Panthers are 12-3. They are the number 1 seed and have a first round bye. The San Diego Strike Force are at 10-5. They qualified for the playoffs, as well as the Vegas Nighthawks at 10-5. And then the last one, the remaining in the West, is going to be between the Arizona Rattlers at 10-5 and the Northern Arizona Wranglers at 9-6. The other 3 teams in the East have been eliminated. Those are the San Antonio Gunslingers at 8-7, the Duke City Gladiators at 2-13, and the Tucson Sugar Skulls at 2-13.
Man, I feel bad that the Gunslingers started off pretty rough this year, but to come back and have an 8-7 record,
Yeah,
I mean, and just missing out on the playoffs by it looks like about a game or so. So
Yeah.
they could even win this weekend if they have a game. I'm not sure what the upcoming schedule looks like.
Yeah.
And they're still out of the playoffs. So there's a bit of a bummer there to have that record and that turnaround and not make it. But I mean, I feel bad because I love the Indoor Football League. They still do a lot of good stuff there.
Yep.
I know people have commented like, "Oh, you guys, I know you focus more on arena football." It's like it's not. We've grown up, or we've been with the Arena League so much longer. It's kind of like
we prefer the Arena Football League because they were the original.
Yeah, but I mean the indoor
there's
football.
Nothing wrong with the Indoor Football League.
We like
or
the
any
Indoor
other
Football
indoor.
League.
I've covered indoor teams, a couple different leagues. I've covered the Arena Football League and the AF2. So there's a difference, but just because they're a little bit different in how they play, it's all football and it's all good. I love it all.
It's good, and I just feel bad we haven't given a lot of the same time and videos to the indoor league.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of other great guys out there who've covered it, and I've thought about doing some sort of video and reaching out to one of them and maybe putting together like tell us about the Indoor Football League season as we head into the playoffs. Like, what's some of the stuff we've missed? And,
maybe at the halfway point, or
Well, no, I'm saying like we're about to hit the playoffs. We can do that now with the Arena Football League and our rearview mirror coming up.
Well, yeah, in the future we could do like.
But like next season we'll maybe have to come up with a better plan to cover some indoor football. It just doesn't help that they also don't put out highlight packages till like the middle of the week for us.
Right. Yeah.
So,
we always record on Tuesday, and some of these highlight packages don't come out till Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
But but you can still go look at them and check them out and see some of these teams.
I mean, I always try to pop if I have the time and I'm sitting there on YouTube and I see there's an indoor football game on. I'd usually turn it on just to see what's going on.
Oh yeah. Well, let's move to the Arena League, which is no no relation to the Arena Football League.
Yeah, no relation.
This is week 7. I think they've got a 10-week schedule. On Saturday, 2 games: Kansas City Goats over the Ozarks Lunkers, 78-45, and the Duluth Harbor Monsters over the Iowa Woo, 52-41. Now let's head across the pond and talk about the European League of Football.
That's right. I've been loving, watching all the highlights and stuff for the European League of Football. This is the first weekend I really haven't gotten a chance to sit down and watch a lot of the highlights because, I mean, between the different arena games, and I've just been busy. And then also watching that receiver docuseries, which we'll talk about.
Right.
I didn't really get to see a whole lot, but I did keep up with some of the news, and there was a lot of stuff that still happened this weekend. For example, Saturday saw the Farivar Enthroners defeat the Prague Lions 38-6, which gave the Enthroners their first win of the season. Nice to see them get that monkey off their back. Yep. Then Saturday, the Cologne Centurions defeated the Frankfurt Galaxy 35-28. My Galaxy just can't catch a break. On Saturday, probably now the best team in the league, which I keep going back and forth on between the Vikings and the Surge, but the Vienna Vikings defeated the Helvetic Mercenaries in a very high-scoring, very tight game, 49-40. So a 9-point game there. Then Saturday, the Madrid Bravos shut out the Barcelona Dragons 54-0. This is the second week in a row now that the Dragons have been shut out 54-0. As you remember, last week they were shut out 54-0 at halftime, and then came out and forfeited the second half, or they forfeited the game.
They didn't want to play anymore.
But so there was so much that happened with the Dragons. There's a lot of rumors and stuff that kind of went around. So we're going to cover a couple of things that happened. The Barcelona Dragons did make some big changes to their roster before week 8. 27 players were released, and they signed 21 new players. So I don't know if that just means that these guys that they cut were the ones that were like, nope, we're not going to play anymore or whatever. Or I don't know. Or if they just thought these 28 guys were good enough.
Yeah, and it takes a while for 21 new guys to gel as a team.
I can't ever say I've seen a roster overhaul quite like that.
In the middle of a season.
In the middle of a season, no less. It sounds like there's some other issues with the Barcelona Dragons organization, maybe not paying players. So hopefully they get that under control, because I think they said this is the first time since maybe the league's first season or so that teams have had this kind of problem, or this these type of issues in the middle of a season, kind of like what we were seeing with the Arena League early on this season. Teams either not paying guys or not keeping promises. But we'll see what happens. It's definitely a developing thing every week now, it seems. Then Barcelona introduced a new head coach who'd be Oscar Perez. They also have a new defensive coordinator and a new offensive coordinator and a new special teams coordinator. So when we say overhaul, we mean overhaul.
And that's half the team and half the coaching staff are all new. It's going to take them a while to get their act together.
Yeah. And then on Sunday, the Paris Musketeers defeated the Berlin Thunder 35-27. I believe you retweeted some highlights from, I want to say it was the Musketeers game, or maybe it was the Mercenaries game.
I found a few highlights. There was one crazy play where they thought the guy was stopped at the line of scrimmage, and he just kind of rolled over a bunch of bodies and took off and ran for a touchdown. I forget what game that was.
Yeah, I mean, the ELF has done a great job on their social medias, promoting their league.
They get them out in
They got a great website, great highlight packages. So I really do enjoy this league quite a bit when I get a chance to check them out and keep an eye on them. Then Sunday, the Rhine Fire defeated the Hamburg Sea Devils 61-23. How about your defending ELF champions putting up 61 points? And then Sunday, the Stuttgart Surge defeated the Tyrol. I always have a problem with that one. Tyrol Raiders 30-25.
Yeah, you also have a problem with Stuttgart.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's that double T. Stuttgart. You can tell I didn't take a foreign language class, and if I did, I failed it. And that's the God honest truth. And then on bye this week, the Munich Ravens, the Wrocław Panthers, and the Milano Seamen. I'm sorry, Randy, that your Seamen did not see any action this week. Insert awesome, hilarious
Go to
joke.
the standings, would you please?
All right, looking at the Week 8 standings in the ELF, or after 8 weeks. In the East, you have the Vienna Vikings sitting at 8-0, the Berlin Thunder at 4-4, the Wrocław Panthers at 3-4, the Fehérváron Throners at 1-6, and the Prague Lions still looking for that first win at 0-8.
Yeah.
In the Central, you have the Stuttgart Surge at 6-0, the Tyrol Raiders at 5-3, the Munich Ravens at 3-3, the Milano Seamen at 3-4, the Barcelona Dragons at 2-6, and the Helvetic Mercenaries at 1-6. Then in the West, you have the 7-1 Rhine Fire, followed by the 5-1 Madrid Bravos and Paris Musketeers. Then you have the Cologne Centurions at 2-4, along with the Frankfurt Galaxy, and the Hamburg Sea Devils at 2-4 each. So that is your standings there in the ELF. And I did see they usually put up a good playoff bracket, like where the standings are right now, where the teams would be seated.
Yeah.
And with the Surge being undefeated still, they had them at like the number 3 seed when I saw that graphic, which made no sense to me.
They got a lot of season left. I don't think it's
I'm not
fair that they even put out these possible playoff matchups. It's so early in the season.
It's how you get fan engagement, Randy.
Yeah.
That's how you do it when you run a league.
It just makes me say that's a waste of time.
All right, we're going to move back over to the United States, everybody, and now we're going to tackle some women's football here.
Yes, it was the quarterfinals of the Women's Football Alliance, and in Division 3, it was the New Mexico Bonitas versus defeating the Oklahoma Rage 40-24. Cincinnati Cougars defeated the Maine Mayhem 14-6. So that sets up the Division 3 championship game between the Cincinnati Cougars and the New Mexico Bonitas. In Division 2, the Nebraska Pride over the Oklahoma City Lady Force. Where'd I get Lady Hawks from?
Wasn't that a movie?
There was a movie called Lady
That's why you got Lady Hawks on the brain.
The Lady Force, 19-18 by a single
Ooh.
point. Let's see, West Palm Beach Coyotes over the Atlanta Rage, 22-14. That sets up the Division 2 national championship between the Nebraska Pride and the West Palm Beach Coyotes. And then in the WFA Pro Division, the St. Louis Slam defeated the Minnesota Vixens 20-3. The Boston Renegades shut out the Pittsburgh Passion 41-0. We
Oof.
thought this was going to be the game of the week.
I thought
Looking
so,
forward
too.
to a real tough matchup, a close game maybe. Boston just flat out walked all over the Pittsburgh Passion.
What would they do? Sit their starters against them in that last game?
I have no idea.
Oh boy!
But that sets up the WFA Pro Division Championship game between the Boston Renegades and the St. Louis Slam. Now, all 3 championship games are going to be at Tom Benson Stadium in Canton, Ohio, on Friday, July 26th, or Saturday, July 27th. That's in 2 weeks.
So we'll take a week off from talking women's football, and then we'll have some championships to talk about in a couple of weeks. So that's pretty awesome.
Yep. All right. So now we're going to come back and we're going to talk some news from other leagues. One you might have heard of called the NFL.
Oh yeah. And to start off, real quick, we do have some breaking news.
Uh-oh.
There's a few stories that we didn't have in the rundown, so I'm gonna real quick just to bring those up.
Okay.
So the Chicago Bears and number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams have finally reached an agreement. I was for sure thinking this guy was gonna hold out, and I was just gonna laugh. I've been laughing at Bears fans all day today. Like, these guys don't even want to sign with you. So the number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams is signing his 4-year, $39.49 million rookie deal.
Oh.
And then they also signed their first round wide receiver, Romeo Odunze. So they finally got those 2 guys signed. So now I can't make fun of my Bears friends at work. But so they got that all taken care of. The other story that's not on the rundown real quick is that 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade from the team after the 2 sides failed to come to some sort of contract agreement. Apparently the 49ers said they aren't going to trade him, so we'll see what that does to that 49ers locker room. If a guy wants to be traded, I don't see why. We've seen both sides of what could happen, in this league. We've seen guys not get traded and then they sit out for a year or whatever, and look what that does to the team in that guy's career. It usually doesn't end well. And then you've seen the other side where teams are nice and they let the guy go, and you trade for Jared Goff, and you take a team to an NFC championship after you haven't been there in 30 years. So So we'll see. We'll see if they end up actually trading him. I'm sure there's got to be teams out there who would be interested in a weapon like Brandon Ayuk. So,
Yeah, there's a
uh,
lot of posturing in a situation like this.
man.
People say things,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah,
we're not going to do this," but eventually they will. They just don't want to say it.
yeah.
So yeah, you don't know how this is going to turn out. So hope for the best
Yep,
for both sides.
for sure.
All right, let's see. Detroit's NFL draft, which we went to, generated an economic impact for the city of $213.6 million.
How much money do you think we spent at this draft? How much did we give to this? At least a few $100 between us, right?
Probably
Yeah.
between some of the souvenirs we bought and
Well, I don't think it counts towards what Billy Sims made off of us, but
yeah, well, I wasn't going to get an autographed football, but you insisted
yes, I
on it.
did.
So I was just going to get a picture, a signed
Oh, but
picture.
you got a nice, lovely football out of it.
Sure do.
You're
In
welcome.
fact, I saw a case in the store, a football display case in the store that I want really bad, and I just
Oh,
it was a little pricey, so I said, yeah, maybe next week I'll get
well,
that.
I
So
don't know if it's the case that I'm thinking of. I mean, I think you should get the case I've been looking at, but we'll talk about that off
I
air.
think that is the case I was looking at. Yeah,
Oh,
it was like
okay.
$80.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
with a
that's
Lions logo on it.
well, not with a Lions
Oh, so
logo
yeah.
on
Oh,
it.
$80, and it's got a Lions logo on it. So we're looking at two totally different things.
Okay, this one did not have any team logo,
Oh,
but
see,
it
I've been
was
looking at
pretty
NFL
nice.
Shop. They got a couple of different nice football display cases with a little frosted lion logo on the front. I think that's where you got to go, and it's like $80.
Well, maybe for that one. We'll see. But anyway, along with the record-breaking crowd of 775,000 fans in attendance, this was the most impactful on a city NFL draft in the history of the NFL draft.
I
So,
mean,
yeah, this draft is coming back to Detroit in a few years. I'll bet you because and if it does, and when it does, we'll be there
we'll be there.
again.
It was a great experience.
It was. Hopefully, they can do as good a job next time because this was. It's going to be hard to top what they did this year.
I mean, I'll be curious. They got a few drafts already lined up with other cities, so
Right.
we'll see how
Sure.
what they take from what Detroit did, and maybe Detroit did something that these other cities can make notes, and
Learn from.
it'll just keep getting bigger. And so maybe like it will take a while for it to get back to Detroit, but if they can keep moving it from city to city and it keeps growing like this, shoot, the NFL is already making money hand over fist. It would be nice, to see the economic impact of this, reaching
Right.
all these other cities, maybe some of the smaller towns, like it's going to Green Bay next.
Yeah.
That'll be a big thing for Green Bay if they get a fraction
Mhm.
of what the Detroit one pulled in. I mean,
Right.
that'll be big for that town.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. And another story from the NFL: wide receiver Calvin Johnson will be added to the Pride of the Lions during halftime of their Monday Night Football game against the Seattle Seahawks on September 30th. Now, the Pride of the Lions, that's their wall of fame
Yeah.
in the stadium.
They get a nice
call it
blue
the Pride of the
jacket.
Lions.
Oh.
They don't call it the Pride of the Lions. Yeah, they get a blue jacket instead of a gold jacket. But yeah, they're going to add Calvin Johnson to that, and I think that's awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
He is going to be the 21st member of the Pride of the Lions, and he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as you know, in 2021. So well deserving. He's got the stats. He was a fantastic player. I mean, you got to see his career from beginning to end,
Yeah.
and he was just something else. So
He's one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game. It does suck that like along with Barry Sanders, he has no championship in that
right.
Prestigious career he had. He was just dominant from beginning to end. And we were there in Detroit for the last guy that got put in the Pride of the Lions, Lomas Brown.
Was I there for that? I think
Yeah, that was the Raiders game. They did that.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Lomas Brown, because Lomas was there to tell Calvin that, and that was a cool video they put up telling Calvin that he was going to be the next guy in. So I'm excited for him, and I think that almost guarantees that the Lions will probably end up wearing their alternate black jerseys and helmet on that game for that. So
Did you see? I posted a video of Kay Adams.
yeah, Kay Adams shared a video.
Right, and Nate Burleson
Yeah.
sent a video for him, and they were both crying because
Yeah.
I guess Nate had some really nice things to say because they
Yeah.
played together.
Yeah,
Calvin
Nate,
and Nate.
Nate's always been a big, Calvin fan, Lions. He's been a big Lions supporter since he came to Detroit and
So
left.
that was a cool video. So
Yeah.
you can find that on our social media.
And
feeds.
because Calvin was out doing some sort of his charity
Golf event.
golf
Yeah.
event in Detroit. And
Yeah.
so that was pretty neat to see that happen, and to see Calvin get emotional. Like, I'm excited that they've come a long way, those two sides, because Calvin for a while wanted nothing to do with the Lions organization. They've done a lot of work to mend bridges, fences with Calvin,
Yeah.
and to have him back with a team like this is pretty sweet.
Yeah. This next story is something that kind of happened to me today. I would just finished up watching the docuseries Netflix this morning. Finished the last episode, and right after that, I get a text on my phone that said, it's now time to get online and try to get your Lions training camp tickets. And
Yeah.
I'm like, crap, I forgot all about this. And so I had to run upstairs where my computer was, and I logged in. So I got in about 10 minutes after 10. I guess they went on sale at 10 o'clock this morning. So at 10 minutes after that, I get online, and it said on the screen, there are 6,735 people in front of you. And so I waited all day long as that number slowly went down. Um, and I looked, a couple of the days, sold out right away. The one we wanted the most was the first one to go. It was a Sunday
Oh,
practice.
really? Mm.
Yep, so that was the first one. But I just stayed with it. I was doing all the stuff around the house, and I took my computer downstairs, and I kept watching it, and then finally got down to 100, 50 guys, 10 guys, and it said, "Okay, we're redirecting you to the to the place where you're going to get your tickets now." And lo and behold, they were all gone.
Yeah, I figured that was going to happen.
So I guess we're not going to training camp this year.
Yeah, I guess
Again.
not. Unless you want to pull hit up their social media people and be like, "Hey, we'd love to come to training camp and cover some stuff."
Right? Yeah.
And
Oh, get press passes or something.
I'd love to just surprise Kyle with a Aiden Hutchinson interview, because Kyle said the whole reason he got into podcasting was to cover Aiden Hutchinson, and if we could do that, Dan, I think we could do something special with that.
Well, we'll see. Let's see another story. Good Morning Football returns to the NFL Network from LA this time on July 29th. That's a Monday. Jamie Yerdall, Peter Schrager, and Kyle Brandt will be back with Jamie Yerdall working out of Los Angeles, and Schrager and Brandt splitting time hosting duties between LA and New York. I didn't know that was an option
I don't know
when
how
they
that'll
ended the
work.
show back before. So yeah, they're gonna sometimes they'll be in New York, sometimes they'll be in LA. I don't know. They're going to be joined by Akbar Gabajabia and a lady by the name of Cherie Burris. I can't say I'm familiar with her or
You've
Gabajabilla.
probably seen her do stuff.
Probably, I've probably seen her. Yeah, I'm not associating a name with a face. But Gabajabilla was a player in the league for several years, so I knew the name because you were looking at that name going, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, I've
And
heard the name. I don't know if I've ever seen it spelled out.
when I looked at it real slowly, I'm like, oh yeah, Kabajabia Miller.
Oh yeah,
I had heard it before. But on top of their 2-hour program, Good Morning Football Overtime is a new program, which they kind of ran from 8 to 10 or 8 to 10, and then they reshowed it kind of in segments. So now they're making it two separate shows. So now they're going to have the first 2 hours is the regular show, and then Good Morning Football Overtime will be from 10 to noon, I guess, a 2-hour segment, and then that's going to be streaming for free on the Roku channel, and it's going to premiere the same day. It will eventually air in syndication across many local stations starting on Monday, September 2nd,
Yeah.
the Monday before the season opener between the Chiefs and the Ravens.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff happening with that, and I thought for sure they'd probably capitalize some more on like the streaming, like what Pat McAfee does, streaming on multiple platforms. So we'll see what they actually do when that gets to that day.
Let's see. There was that show Hard Knocks off seasons with the New York Giants. We both watched the first episode. Did you watch the second
I
episode?
did watch the second episode.
Oh, okay. I did
you?
not.
You didn't?
Yeah.
So
what'd you think?
Episode 2, it was a little more of the same. It was a little more, getting prepped for the draft. Bringing in players like Caleb Williams, we just talked about getting his contract with the Bears, and a couple other guys. The guy they would eventually draft, that wide receiver, I forget what college he was from, but they brought him in, and it was interesting just to see like they were asking certain guys questions, and it was interesting to watch like the head coach interviewing, like specifically with the quarterbacks. They said they had different interview tactics for different positions, and the quarterback was a little different. So like the quarterback, they had him like drawing up a play. Like, what was your favorite play? Explain to me what each player, what route, the Z route, the X route, or whatever, the X receiver, whatever. And they'd ask him a bunch of questions, and then he would like double back to something he had said about a play, or like they'd give him a play call, and they had the player repeat it back. He goes, "Oh yeah, that's interesting. Hey, what was that play call I asked you about 10 minutes ago, or 5 minutes ago?" And then the guy was supposed to repeat it back to him. And so it was interesting, some of the tactics. I think they got a little flack on social media for like making guys look dumb. I didn't think that necessarily, but it was just interesting to see that side of it, and some of the, they eventually trade for that defensive end or defensive lineman from the Panthers, Burns, in the offseason. It was a big trade. And seeing the GM walk around, he sees the Patriots because I think they were like talking about moving up draft picks too. So they see the Patriots booth on the other end of the stadium, and he's like, "I'm gonna walk over there and talk to them." So that's like where all the wheeling and dealing and behind the scenes stuff. And I don't know when or where tampering comes into place and all that stuff. And so I'm like watching some of this, like, because he talks to the Panthers guys, he talks to the Patriots guys. So it was a little bit of everything kind of behind the scenes stuff, which I'm into. I know that you probably would have said this is a boring episode.
Well, I thought maybe the draft one would be a little more interesting because I thought the first one was totally boring. I was bored out of my skull watching it.
No, so the second one is more draft prep, and it does focus on some of the scouts a little bit. Not as much as I would like. I feel like the scouts are the more interesting aspect, but they keep focusing on the GM and all that, and I'm just like, give me some of the scouts, because they showed the scouts get together, and they had like a big dinner after their whole scouting combine, because that's kind of like their big, that's their last
Super Bowl.
kind of sort of, it's like their last big event before the draft itself.
Right.
But this is like the culmination of all their research and all their input with the team. So I thought that was fascinating. So decent episode. And then tonight's episode, I believe, should be the actual NFL draft night, probably. So we'll see how that goes. We'll talk about that next week, I guess.
Okay. But the other show that we have both watched was Receiver on Netflix. And of course, I like this one because they're talking to Amon-Ra St. Brown in it. So yeah, the first episode, they were just introducing the players and showing their home life.
Yeah, it was like a two-parter that first.
Yeah.
Because they had 5 receivers they're following. So you had 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel and 49ers tight end George Kittle, Detroit Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson, and then Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Devontae Adams. So Deebo, George Kittle, Amon-Ra, they were all episode 1. So they're going back between 3 guys, which is that formula that we saw with quarterback last year.
Yep.
Then episode 2, it was between Jefferson and Devontae. So there was a little bit more there. They were going back just between those 2 guys.
Right.
So let's just start off with those first couple episodes, getting to know some of these guys. What were your initial thoughts?
I wasn't too keen on a lot of these guys. I was just there to see Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right.
But I did kind of get into the other guys,
Oh, no, come on. You texted me and you said you hate George Kittle.
I did not.
You did too. That first episode, you said you could not stand George Kittle.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Oh, well, as the series went along, I liked him a little bit more.
Yeah, I was wondering about it because I'm watching this like, how does Dad hate this guy? George Kittle's got that golden retriever energy that's just like, it could get a little grating, I could see at times. Like, he's just so positive and he's just so energetic.
Right.
But you could just tell, like, that's just, 1, who he is. And 2, it works for him. Like, just that positive mindset, just kind of psyching himself up, like, shows why he goes out there and kind of showcases why all these guys kind of, like, go out there and perform the way they perform. Like, it's just, what is it? The football is, I'm trying to think of the line from Little Giants. It's 80% mental and 20% physical or something like that. And the mental thing is a real thing. And you kind of see that, I think, a little bit in this show. So,
well, George Kittle, I mean, he was on an episode of Peyton's Places with Peyton Manning.
Oh, was he?
And he was great in that. You probably didn't see that one, but yeah, he was funny and playing right up with Peyton Manning. So that was kind of cool. But maybe I didn't like him in the first episode, but as the series went along, he's such a funny guy, and like you said, a lot of energy, positive attitude, this and that. So the first 2 episodes, they were just kind of,
it was like a setup,
showing you everybody that's going to be on the show.
Because it was disappointing because the Amon-Ra stuff was like, I've heard all this stuff. It's the 16 receivers drafted before him. It was how he didn't want to be in Detroit at first, but then things kind of turned around, and like, all that stuff was like we heard 1,000 times over.
Yeah. But anyway, when you get to episode 3, the only thing I wrote down about that one was not enough Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, but episode 3 is where
I was there to watch.
Episode 3 was where they kind of hit their stride, because like at that point, that's where you're juggling all 5 guys and you're juggling these different stories. Right. And my notes for episode 3 were it was more balanced, but Amon-Ra was more featured at the front of the episode, and then it kind of drifted into the other guys. Right. So But then you get to episode 4 where Amon-Ra was heavily featured.
Yes.
This is where we discovered stuff I didn't even know about. Like he had that hand, foot, mouth disease at the game we were at.
Yeah.
So that's why I remember him wearing the ski mask and all that
Right.
game. I didn't know what that was all about.
Yeah.
And then to find out he had blisters on his hands, blisters on his feet, and that he played through that, that he was talking about how he ran a route or he caught a ball and how the blisters were popping and it felt like he had needles in his hand. It's just, the dude is
never heard
something else.
any of
And
that.
the other thing was the torn oblique off of the bone.
Hmm.
That was unbelievable. Like all season long, he went with this torn oblique on his side that just fell off the bone or was like off the bone. I won't say it fell off, but that was absolutely crazy. And the fact that he ends up with the season he had playing through those type of injuries just goes to show you just Amon-Ra is something special.
Yeah, but that episode 4, they also featured the Lions-Raiders game because two of the stars of the show were playing against each other, and that was awesome because we were there on that Monday night game.
Yep.
And then the next day, the Raiders fired their coach after they lost to
They
Detroit.
showed a little bit of that. And then it also had a moment I liked where George Kittle got a military jacket from a guy, which was like signed from him. And that was a cool thing.
And
so
he gave him a signed jersey and got a
so
picture with him and all that.
That was a pretty cool moment.
Yep.
Then episode 5, my thing was I didn't know that. I forgot that Justin Jefferson, he was already injured earlier in the year. Then he had a second injury, which I forgot about, where he just got hit in the back and he was coughing up blood. That was kind of scary. You hate to see that for a young guy like that, but like that's my takeaway from episode 5.
Yeah, that was the Thanksgiving Day loss to
no wonder
Green Bay, and that was awful. I hated watching that, but it's something that happened, and they showed a lot of Amon-Ra in that game. So
yep. And then episode 6, my notes were George Kittle's grandma, Lugene, or Lucky. It was her 101st birthday. She came out to another game, and I remember seeing the footage of her last year at her 100th birthday when she went to a Cardinals game against the 49ers.
She looks good for 100 years
101,
old.
she looks great.
Her mind is there. She's
sharp as a tack.
enthusiastic. She loves her grandson and loves football. And oh my gosh, what a joy to be around. She was something else.
That was pretty good. And then also that's the same episode where we saw the Lions and the 49ers both clinch their divisions.
Yep.
So they featured the Lions quite heavily, and that's also where you see Justin Jefferson, go up against the Lions that time. And then I think both those episodes you see him go up against the Lions a couple of times because that was the end of their season for Devontae Adams and for Justin Jefferson. So they kind of wrapped up their stories a little bit, and then the episode 7 comes around, and then they start off with them like, Justin Jefferson packing up all his stuff from his locker. Looks like Santa Claus with that big old bag over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And he had like Amon-Ra's jersey that he just gotten signed in his locker still. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. He's got the jersey right there. But yeah, I just thought it was funny, that image of him walking out of the facility with a big old bag over his shoulder, carrying all the cleats and whatever else he got throughout the season. That's pretty good. And then that was the same episode, episode 7. If you're a Lions fan, this is the episode where both Lions playoff victories were in it. And then in between it, they had George Kittle's, what I took note of, George Kittle's dad, I guess, writes him letters and send them to him.
Yeah.
And the song that was playing during that is from my favorite band of all time. It's not my favorite song they do, but it is one of their best songs. So I thought it was interesting that they were playing that song, and I was like getting into it and like, oh, heck yeah, they're playing some Tool.
I didn't recognize the song.
I'm sure you didn't, but for me, I was like rocking. I was like, oh, this is a George Kittle vibe for sure.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. It showed his dad writing and reading some of these letters that he sends to his son every week. Yeah. But that was awesome.
But it was just a good episode because then like all the behind the scenes stuff of the Lions versus the Rams, and then obviously the Lions versus the Bucks to get to the NFC Championship.
And we were there for that Lions-Rams game, so that meant a lot.
That was another one. It was just like
we were there, and you relive that again. That was awesome.
I was in tears. I didn't cry, but I was starting to tear up at a couple points during that because it was just when they won, and it just that swell of emotion kind of hit me again. Like how special that moment is, and just to have it kind of documented in this series was pretty cool for other people to experience because like it. Man, you have no idea. If your team hasn't been as bad as the Lions have been, you might not understand just how important that moment was for the city, for the Lions fan base. And I don't know. I loved everything about it.
And then episode 8, the Lions 49ers NFC Championship game. Man, this was hard to watch for a Lions fan. To live this again. The first half was so good. The second half was such a downer.
I was texting with Aaron because he had finished the series, and he had said episode 7 is awesome. Episode 8 sucks. And I was very trepidatious jumping into that episode because, yeah, of course, we all know what happened in the NFC Championship game. But Aaron did say, like, hey, the first 10 minutes or so, awesome.
Yeah.
After that, not so much.
Yeah.
And that's true. But I didn't suck as bad watching it but there was a couple moments where I was like, I think the Lions could win this. I think they got this. Maybe history could be rewritten right now. Maybe I was in a fever dream and that all didn't happen. And then, it happened. And it sucked to relive it. But you know what it made me think of watching this the following parts where you see the 49ers win the championship, then they go to the Super Bowl, was I just kept thinking, you know what? It's going to be special when this Lions team does it all.
Yeah.
And they just as easily could do all that. And so I was sitting there, I was like, I'm not going to feel too bad because then the Niners turn around. Obviously, they lost the Super Bowl. And you see Taylor Swift a couple times.
Right, twice. I counted that.
Yeah, I counted twice as well. And I was like, you know what? It is tough to get to this point, but I am so confident in this Lions team. I'm like, it sucks watching this now, but it'll be all the more better in the future because they have the tools to get there again.
Well, this is my takeaway. I loved watching, the Lions first half, and it was soul crushing to see them lose that game. But I felt better after watching the 49ers endure their own soul crushing defeat at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
like they gave to Detroit. So yeah, we got it from San Francisco. San Francisco got it right back in the Super Bowl. That made me feel a little bit better. I'm sorry.
I get that, but I also like that, even still to the, whenever they filmed Amon-Ra's talking heads, talking about the game and all that, and they talked to Dan Campbell, and I think they talked to somebody else, I can't remember. But just even reflecting on it, he's like, this is our team. We're going to go for it on fourth down. Right. And even in that episode, they kind of tried to make it be like, well, they should have kicked the field goal, which is what everybody's going to say. And you know what? I'll tell anybody still, I am behind going for it on the fourth downs. Because you guys got to remember, that kicker that we had at that time, Michael Badgley, very hit and miss from that far. Even though it was a 46-yarder, if we had a more competent kicker, I would have said, yeah, you know what? Kick the field goal. I'm not worried about it. But at that time, it was a mix of we're in a big game. If we make the fourth down, we got our foot on their throat and all that stuff. Because they make those two plays, those two big fourth down plays.
Right.
It's a different story. And I said it then, I'll say it now. It's if Reynolds catches those two passes, we're talking something completely different. And the fact that he didn't look, that's just how it's going to go. But that's just what this team is. So I still have no regrets about Campbell not kicking the field goal.
Well, that's what got us there. Yep. That's what got us to the NFC Championship game, is going for it on fourth down many times throughout the season to keep the ball out of the other team's hands and control the clock and win the game.
Yep. And they if they make those, guess what? Yeah, we're talking totally different. We're talking Lions in the Super Bowl, probably winning the Super Bowl. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Lions fan. I think that's legit. Like, if that Lions team that played that first half, and if they could have finished that game out, then played that Kansas City team, I think you're looking at the Lions probably winning a Super Bowl.
I agree. I agree.
I think there's a lot of people that might agree with that because that first half Lions team looked unstoppable.
Right. So. And then in the postscript of that whole last episode, it shows Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown both signing huge contracts to stay with their team. So that was kind of cool. And they showed George Kittle adopting two dogs to go with the one they already had. So that's how he's. Yeah. That's how he.
And not much of a send off for the other two guys. But Devontae Adams didn't really get much, and then Deebo Samuel didn't really get much. No. So, but it was nice that they included the contract stuff, which said, look, these are the guys that got paid. Like, they were a couple of young guys, and they got their contracts. Because I do think it was funny watching this whole series, too. You'd see where Amon-Ra was living, and you'd see where Justin Jefferson are living. And you're like, these are two of the best receivers in the league. They haven't made that big money yet, but so you see where they're living. Like, Justin Jefferson looked like he was living in just a duplex almost. Same with Amon-Ra. And now they're going to be making that money. Because it was funny seeing the clips of Justin Jefferson in the second episode in his nice little, quaint Minnesota townhome thing. And you cut to Devontae Adams' house where they're having a children's birthday party, and it's like some mansion out in the desert, and you're just like, man, there was that stuff like that I noticed that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. And I forget what episode it was in, but they showed Amon-Ra getting his hair.
When he dyed it blue. That was episode 7.
I didn't know they actually bleached it first, so it was totally white, and then they went to the blue color. So that was kind of cool.
So much in that episode. We could sit here and talk about episode 7 all day, because he also called that Lions fan that was in hospice. I think it was hospice.
Yes.
And that guy dyed his hair blue too because of Amon-Ra, and so Amon-Ra FaceTimed him. So that was so. There was just so many cool Amon-Ra stuff in here. And what I wanted to ask you was, how about we rank the 5 guys, just in terms of our most now that we have the impressions of all 5 of them, from like guys you're like super interested in to maybe you're still least interested in, 5 to 1. Can you come up with a list at the top of your
Sure,
head?
sure. Off the top of my head, I'm gonna say Devonte Adams, number 5.
Mm.
Debo Samuel's number 4. Um, Justin Jefferson, number 3. George Kittle, number 2, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 1.
I'm not too far off from you, but I think I would go. Debo was at the bottom. Nothing against Debo. He was interesting. Like some of his injury stuff was kind of interesting, but I felt like having 2 San Francisco players might have been the
Yeah,
downfall of
well, they
this.
each had very interesting stories.
And they intertwined a little bit, but Debo, I don't know. And Debo, yeah, went through some injuries and stuff, and he was an integral part of that team. But I just feel like having 2 guys on the same team was it didn't fully make it out of balance. But I didn't feel like I got enough Debo to assess him too much. So I put Debo at 5. 4, I probably have Devonte Adams just because I I don't know. He was he would say one thing and he would do another. It was weird, some of the hypocrisy in some of his stuff. And that's how I felt. Cause like he'd be like, oh yeah, I'm here to help the team. But then you'd hear about the quotes of him saying like, if I got the ball more, like we'd probably be winning. And it's
Yeah,
just like, what? That's not what you just said in your little talking head. So it just seemed like there was some inconsistency with him.
yeah.
But at least then I was like, I thought I liked him. Then I'm like, maybe I don't. I can't really get a read on the guy. Number 3, I probably would have uh, Justin Jefferson. He was interesting. I mean, there's some stuff that just came out about him on social media that I didn't know about. So we'll see how that affects my opinion on him.
Mm.
But at least during the show, I was like, he's interesting, nice young player. He's got a lot of motivation behind him, and he's one of the best. They talked about it. He the fastest guy to in 3 seasons. Racking up the yards he has and shoot. And even I like the quote he had where the Lions beat them, at the end of the season. He's like, look, they're going to talk about how the Lions won that game. What's going to get lost is the fact that I had so many catches for 190 yards and a touchdown. Like that's going to get lost. Sorry, Justin. I'm not going to forget that. I know you torched us that day, but also the fact that he still, with all the time he missed, still got over 1,000 yards receiving is unbelievable too. Then obviously number 2, George Kittle. Number 1, Amon-Ra. So a lot of personality. I like George Kittle quite a lot.
Yeah, I didn't know much. I didn't think much of him before this show, but I do like him now.
Yeah.
He's got quite a personality. Well, the one thing I didn't mention was when they did George Kittle's pregame rituals in episode 7. I thought that was pretty cool the way they had him narrating what he's thinking, what he's doing, and then you saw him sitting on a bench and he's in color, but everything around him is black and white and it's all
Or time
wavy.
lapsed.
Yeah, and it was so cool the way they did that to where the weird mental state that he puts himself in to get his head right, get himself in the game. I'm great. I can do this. I'm a champion. All that what do you call it?
Oh man,
self
self-actualization.
Yeah, something like that.
He's the king of that. Like
Yeah.
in the way he interacts with his guys, like Brock Purdy throws an interception, he goes up to Brock, or
Yep.
like when they were down to the Lions, he's like, "Hey man, like I got you. Keep doing what you're doing." All that positive energy. Like I said, that golden retriever energy too, where he's just out there to have fun. And you see it every play. Like he got all excited when he pancake blocked Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And while I hate seeing it, I'm just like, I get it, dude. Yeah, you just pancaked one of the best defensive linemen,
Yep.
or at least one of the best young defensive linemen. And George Kittle ain't no slouch. He's one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yep.
The dude can block, and I felt for him when he got hurt in the Super Bowl a little bit because he didn't really do much, and then he gets hurt and comes back. So
Here's what I took away from this whole thing, especially towards the end, is that Kansas City, San Francisco, and Detroit are going to be there at the end of the season
Oof.
for the next couple of years. I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be, 1 year Kansas City might win it, Detroit might win it, and then San Francisco might win it. I think you're going to see these 3 teams right now battling for Super Bowls for the next couple of years.
I think Detroit is definitely in the conversation. San Francisco obviously is in the conversation, but I'm a little curious because their roster is just slightly older than Detroit. Not a whole lot. They're still young rosters, but you've got so many guys on that team that you're going to have to either pay more money to eventually. I just feel like there's something's going to happen with that 49ers team that might set them back just for a season or two, maybe. And who knows? They lose any of those guys. I just don't know how much depth they actually have because they had some struggles. I mean, every team has their struggles, but I just feel like, I don't know, that Detroit is prime. Kansas City is usually prime. They usually figure out a way. I think Baltimore's another one they didn't talk about during the show, but that's another team I'm like, keep an eye on Baltimore for a while. And there's a bunch of teams. I think it's a little too soon right now because anything can happen in a football season. As we've seen during this docuseries, like so much can happen just to a guy like Brandon Ayuk, not Brandon Ayuk, Debo going through his injuries, Amon-Ra with the injuries he dealt with. And these are the guys that tough it out. These are the guys who will themselves back onto that football field. And not everybody's built like these guys. So
Okay. All right, enough about that show. It was a good show.
it was good.
I did enjoy it.
I'm curious though if they're going to keep the pattern going of they did quarterbacks last year, they did receivers this year. Do they go? Because there's that rumor that Matthew Stafford was supposed to be part of a quarterback series, but haven't seen anything. I thought they were going to do 2 series, but apparently this is quarterback. It's just
Right.
different this year.
Yeah.
So do they do a different position? Do they do running backs next year? Do you go defense next year?
Yeah,
Like
linebackers or maybe linemen.
backers?
Who knows?
Yeah, next year you could do a bunch of different defensive players and just
Right.
call it backers or just call it defense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get Aiden Hutchinson in there, and I'll watch it.
I'm telling you right now though, if those are the teams you could get some guys from, like the San Francisco, Detroit. Maybe you find a couple other up and coming teams that got some star players, depending on what position you want to do. Because like they could do, if they do like running back, you could do Jahmyr Gibbs, you could do Christian McCaffrey, obviously, and there's a couple other guys out there like Derrick Henry, which like towards the end of his career would be interesting to follow for a season, especially going to a new team for the first time. There's so much they could do with this format that we'll see what they decide to do next year.
Okay. All right, let's move on to today's birthdays. July 16th. Happy birthday today to running back Barry Sanders,
Oh,
who
speaking of
turns
running backs.
56 years old today. Played his college football at Oklahoma State. 3rd overall pick in the 1989 NFL draft by the Detroit Lions. Played 10 seasons, all with Detroit from 89 to 98. Ran for 2,000 yards in a single season in 1997 and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2004. What more can you say about Barry Sanders?
I mean, one of, if not the greatest running back to play the game.
Yep.
I will forever remember watching him play. I'll forever remember that 97 game against the Jets where he crossed the 2,000-yard mark. I'll remember his induction ceremony. The dude was just, a highlight reel on the field every time he touched the ball. You've never seen more gloriously beautiful 2-yard runs for losses when Barry Sanders did it. They were the most beautiful thing.
Yep.
But
when he was 10 years Pro Bowl for 10 years.
Every year he was in the league.
And
every year.
And he had over 1,000 yards rushing every year too.
Yeah. 99 touchdowns. So he was that one. That's the only thing that bums me out. He was 1 touchdown short of at least 100 touchdowns in his first 10 years. So, but a heck of a career. Ended on a bit of a sour note with Detroit fans. But I think in recent years things have kind of been cleared up. And I mean, we just still don't have answers, which is fine. But and then he had just had his health scare recently.
Yep.
So happy birthday to Barry. I still can't believe he's only 56.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. That I was like, really? He's only 56? Dang.
Well, here's another guy you won't believe his age. Coach Jimmy Johnson turns 81 years old today. 81.
That man is, I won't say ageless because you can tell he's gotten up there and stuff. But 81, nah, I still would have said early 70s maybe. But man, Jimmy Johnson taking care of himself.
Head coach of the Dallas Cowboys from 89 to 93 and head coach of the Miami Dolphins from 94 to 99. He won 2 Super Bowls with Dallas, and he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2020. So happy birthday to Jimmy Johnson. He didn't show up a whole lot in the Fox pregame last year. And neither did Terry Bradshaw. He was gone quite a bit too.
I'm wondering if they're starting to get ready for these guys to just retire.
Having some health issues that because I know Jimmy Johnson lives in Florida and flies to California every week.
And that's gotta be taxing, especially for an 80-year-old.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know. I'm wondering if Jimmy's getting ready to, phase out of that show. Maybe they're moving on, or we'll find out. But I loved having Jimmy on the pregame stuff. He's always a fun.
They're all good.
He's always a good character.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the best pregame show is for the Fox show. All right, we've got 4 obituaries this week. This is where we take a moment and honor those who have made the world of football a better place. And we're going to start with Monty Kiffin, who coached in college and in the NFL. He has passed away at the age of 84. From 66 to 82, Kiffin was a college football assistant coach at Nebraska and at Arkansas. And he was also the head coach at North Carolina State from 1980 to 82. From 1983 to 2008, he was an assistant coach in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers, Buffalo Bills, Minnesota Vikings, New York Jets, New Orleans Saints, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He returned to college football coaching from 2009 to 2012 with Tennessee and USC. Then he went back to the NFL from 2013 to 2016 with the Dallas Cowboys and the Jacksonville Jaguars. He finished his coaching career in college at Florida Atlantic and Ole Miss from 2007 to 2023. He's the father of current Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, and his youngest son Chris is currently an assistant coach in the NFL with the Houston Texans. What a guy, what a family.
Yeah.
Wow, what a career.
Yeah, for sure. All right, our next obituary is that of Jacoby Jones, a wide receiver and kick returner in the NFL for 9 seasons, has passed away at the age of 40. The cause of death was not revealed. Jones played college football at HBCU's Lane College and was selected in the 3rd round of the 2007 NFL Draft by the Houston Texans. He played for the Texans from 2007 to 2011 and the Baltimore Ravens from 2012 to 2014. He won Super Bowl 47 with the Ravens and returned a kickoff 108 yards for a touchdown during that game. Jones finished his playing career in 2015 playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the San Diego Chargers.
Our next obituary is Ron Clinkscale, a running back and safety in the Canadian Football League for 4 seasons. He's passed away at the age of 90. Clinkscale played college football at TCU and went on to play for the British Columbia Lions from 1955 to 1956. He was then traded to the Calgary Stampeders during the 1956 season and finished his playing career with the Stampeders in 1958.
And our final obituary this week is that of John Wilcox, a defensive tackle in the NFL for 1 season, has passed away at the age of 86. Wilcox played college football at Boise State and Oregon and was selected in the 15th round of the 1960 NFL Draft by the Philadelphia Eagles. He only played for the team in 1960, but he won an NFL title when the Eagles beat the Green Bay Packers 17-13.
Yeah, I was reading in his obituary. I didn't put it in here, but he just decided to retire after 1 season because the money wasn't that good, and he was worried about the effects of his body.
Yeah.
So he played 1 season, got his championship ring, said, "I'm out of here."
Hey, if we could do that, I'd play 1 year, deal with all that, get a Super Bowl ring.
Good for him.
A championship at that time.
Get a championship ring in 1 season.
Yeah.
So congratulations and condolences to all the families there.
But a fun story, though.
Yeah. See, there's fun obituaries and there's sad obituaries. The one for Jacoby Jones, that is a sad one. We don't know the details on that one yet. That's probably coming out in the next few days. But 40 years old, just played a few years ago. No, I want to hear these obituaries about these 90-year-old guys. They have lived some incredible lives. All right, upcoming events calendar. I just saw this today. Tomorrow, July 17th, the UFL Collegiate Draft will take place. The Memphis Showboats have the first overall pick in the draft, and each team gets 10 picks. We might have some more details on that next week.
Yep.
But these guys, they may be picking players, but I think it's just who's going to have their rights in case they don't catch on with the NFL or whatever. So you're not going to see all these guys play on the team, but they'll have their rights. Let's see. Friday, July 19th. This Friday, ArenaBowl XXXIII at the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Billings Outlaws versus the Albany Firebirds, and I will be there. Your roving reporter will be there to cover the game. We'll have a video, hopefully, put together after that if I get some decent video and some good shots.
Hey, if you send me some stuff while you're there, maybe I can even put up some stuff for you.
Maybe.
We'll see. I'll be out of town, too, this weekend, so that might be tough.
Yeah, we're going to be all
we'll
over
have
the
something
place.
definitely, though.
That's why you couldn't go with me on this trip, because you got other plans. Let's see. Also on Friday the 19th, the EA Sports College Football video game is released. That's what you're doing. You're sitting at home playing the video game instead of going with me to the arena.
Well, my plan, unfortunately, I'll be out of town. I'm going up north for the weekend, but I do have Monday off, so I plan on coming back and just sitting on my butt Monday and playing the crap out of this game. Maybe putting a video together for it. We'll see how things go. But I'm planning on taking Western Michigan to the national championship game.
Okay.
So
you gonna have a report on what the game, how good the game is, or bad, or whatever.
That's what. Yeah, I'll put a video together.
Okay. Well, I'm just talking. We'll talk about it,
and we'll talk about it on the show. Yeah.
Okay. Friday, July 26th, and Saturday, July 27th, the Women's Football Alliance 3 championship games take place at Tom Benson Stadium in Canton, Ohio. Thursday, August 1st, coming up in just a handful of days here, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans. August 3rd, 2 days later, the 2024 enshrinement ceremonies at the Hall of Fame in Tom Benson Stadium. Tuesday, August 6th, Hard Knocks Training Camp with the Chicago Bears, a 5-episode show, premieres on HBO and Max.
Yep, now that they got their 2 number 1 overall picks signed, now that'll be less drama going into the training camp.
Yep. Saturday, August 24th, week 0 in college football, so college football is back, baby. Thursday, September 5th, the NFL regular season begins with the Ravens at the Chiefs. And the following night, Friday night, September 6th, the Eagles versus the Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That game is exclusively on Amazon Prime. And that's it for this week. What has it been? Like a 4-hour show today? It
Pretty
seems like
much.
it's
Well,
taken
we've had to do
forever.
some stopping and starting.
Yeah.
People may or may not notice. I'm not sure how the sound quality will be, but yeah, there's a few cuts we've had to make during the episode. For
Keep getting interrupted today.
Man, like I said, we got family stuff we're dealing with, so we're like taking phone calls during the show. So you're hearing an hour and 15-minute show. Well, we've been recording for at least
2 hours.
2.5 hours. So it's been a day.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, we
that's
should be
positive?
good.
Okay. Thank goodness. All right. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all 3 of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube channel. Just enter the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at the World of Football in that YouTube search bar to find us if you already haven't. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment. We like talking to you guys in the comments, and let us know what you think. And please come be a part of the football conversation.
We have had some good conversations with some folks.
Yes, we
making
have.
comments on some of our videos and
Yep.
things.
Whether it be correcting us on how to pronounce
Certain names.
teams from Europe, or
Yeah.
just some information, or just even fans saying, hey, I liked this thing that happened, or I caught arena football action and I've been really happy about it. Like, good stuff.
Yeah, twice we've had somebody say, "Yeah, I heard you talking about indoor football, and so I went to a game in Orlando. It was great. I'm going to do more." Another guy said, "I heard you talking about the Canadian Football League, and he actually went to a game up there. I forget where he went."
He was at a game before I think he went to the opener for the Argonauts.
Okay.
Maybe.
I can't remember what team he went to go see.
It was
but
that opening game against no, it wasn't Saskatchewan. Who did the Argos play in week 1?
I don't
That's what I'm
remember.
trying to remember. But yeah, he went to like the week 1 game,
Right.
and
But
so
he-
but,
but he
then he
heard-
stumbled upon us, and he's like just an hour. He was like from Grand Rapids, so an hour north of us, and he discovered us. He was like, "Oh, I just so happened to have already gone to a Canadian game. And I stumbled upon you
Okay.
guys." So it's still pretty cool. I
Right.
mean, that's why we do this. I mean, we've grown the channel quite a bit. The podcast, seems to be slowly growing too. So we just like spreading the gospel that is the world of football.
Oh, we got to work that into our opening or closing.
Oh, God. Every time I just come up with
spreading the
something.
gospel of football of the
Sure,
world of
make a
football.
little
Yeah.
note if you need to.
I'm writing it down right
All
now.
right, and remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the 2 of us here in Kalamazoo. Until next time, when we'll try to do a better job, I'm Adam Snow,
And I'm Randy Snow.
and we'll see you next week.